Welcome back to the Dorks Next Door. I'm your man, Andy.
And I'm Jason.
And we have some massive breaking news that we're going to discuss with you right here, right now, on our massive movie news. Now, last episode, we talked about Jurassic World 3, A Quiet Place 2, and the casting for Matt Reeves' Batman movie coming out in the next few years. But today, we're going to talk about two more beloved franchises in Star Wars and in Marvel. So without further ado, let's talk about our three breaking news. First off, let's talk about Brie Larson rumored to join the Star Wars universe. Brie Larson took to Twitter on Thursday to post a picture of her standing next to C-3PO with the caption, "Did someone say Star Wars?" And it's being rumored that she will appear as a role in a future Star Wars film. Jason, what are your thoughts on Brie Larson joining the Star Wars franchise?
I'm all for it. I mean, I think she's a fantastic actress. I think she's got a lot to bring to the table. I'm wondering what kind of role she'd be in, for sure, you know. But of course, Star Wars it's so vast and it's so open-ended, and I'm hoping that we get to see more of her range, you know, than we got to see in Captain Marvel. Not really a knock on Captain Marvel. It's just that, you know, she was kind of playing a very, you know, strict by the books sort of character.
I think this is actually really cool for Brie Larson to join the Star Wars franchise, to start the next leg of movies that they're going to do. I think it's a different direction. I think it's going to be awesome that they get sort of a big name. Like she's kind of a big name,
especially now.
Yeah. And so I don't think it's to the level of, well, maybe at the time, I don't know, this comparison, I may get crucified for this, but it's kind of the same level as a Harrison Ford was for the trilogy. Like for the first, he wasn't hugely popular.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I think this is kind of her.
I'd say she's bigger now than he was back then.
Yeah, I would say that. And so I think the only direction for her for here would be going up. And I think a lot of people are going to go see this new franchise, or however many the movies they're going to do with her. I think they're going to go see that because, hey, Brie Larson's in this movie. We like her from Captain Marvel that made $1 billion, so Marvel's fine with her. But They're like, Brie Larson's in this movie. Let's go watch this movie. And so I think it's a really good casting choice for them to get her.
It kind of reinforces, too, not only with, you know, Kevin Feige news that we'll talk about later on, but it kind of reinforces the synergy that Marvel and Star Wars have right now, because they're really, in a lot of ways, they're kind of sister franchises. They're the meat and potatoes of pop culture, as I say somewhat often. I've said it probably like 5 times by this point. But that's just really, it is what it is right now. They're really in the zeitgeist that the two biggest things that Disney are pushing. Really creatively, they're the two biggest things that Disney's bringing to the table.
Yeah, definitely.
Honestly, it's just kind of like reworking this older IP.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really interested. I'm really interested in the synergy between these two franchises, because clearly they are going for different things. You know, it's not the same thing.
Right.
It's not something like Marvel and DC where the biggest difference is just they have different characters. You know, but it's still supposed to be a superhero universe.
Right.
You know, with a bunch of different smaller franchises leading to a big epic team up. You know, Star Wars goes for something different than that. It doesn't, you know, it's always kind of an ensemble cast.
Yeah.
And it's about adventure. It's about this vast galaxy, and I think it's a lot more kind of open-ended.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of ways, since the, you know, kind of the canon is being paved by the movies instead of by things that have already existed, instead of being like remixed from older books. It's, you know, they're paving the way with it right now.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see the direction that this takes us, because, you know, now we're kind of branching out of the Skywalker saga.
Yep. But Brie Larson is not the only massive news to come out of the Star Wars franchise this past week. It was being reported this past week that Marvel's Kevin Feige will join the Star Wars franchise to produce a future Star Wars film. Jason, what are your thoughts on the Lord and Savior of the Marvel Cinematic Universe jumping over to the Star Wars universe as well?
It's interesting because clearly he's brought so much to the table for Marvel, and part of that is just his ability to organize. and his ability to, plan out how to tell the best story possible, and his ability to assemble all of these, assemble, very funny, but his ability to assemble all of this different talent, and to assemble the exact right kind of crew and cast along with other people, but to assemble the right people around him to make the right movie at the right time.
Right.
He's absolutely nailed it for basically every Marvel movie.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested because Star Wars right now, it's in a place where the Skywalker saga is very straightforward and clear cut, but outside of kind of the Mandalorian, you've got a little bit of dysfunction going on, compared to Marvel. Again, because Marvel is just so immaculately planned. And if they say they're going to make something, it's going to be made. But with Star Wars, you just kind of, hope that it's in the right place. And it's clear that they don't have the same level of planning and the same level of forward momentum that Marvel has right now. Yeah. So I'm hoping that Feige can kind of get the ball rolling with that forward momentum. I don't want him to take the entire reins of the franchise, take over both of them.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think he'll ever be in a position with Star Wars that he is now with Marvel, not necessarily being a producer for every movie, but to help make sure that everything's mapped out the way the kind of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is?
I'm sure that he has a ton of great ideas for that. I'm sure that they're exactly the kind of things that I'd like to see. Because when Fox was making their X-Men movies and when Sony's making their Spider-Man movies, he would give them hints. He would give them direction, whether they accepted it or not, kind of shines through in the quality of the movies. Right. But, I'm sure that with Star Wars, he's just got so many great ideas. He's got so much to bring to the table creatively. So again, I wouldn't want him to kind of oversee everything because Marvel is not Star Wars. They're not the same thing.
Right.
But I do think that, his level of really talent in production is going to be a huge boost.
That's not the only movie Kevin Feige will be producing in the future, because there is some massive breaking news for all Marvel fans out there. The breaking news that had everyone freaking out over Twitter on Friday is that none other than Spiderman is back in the MCU. That's right. Sony and Marvel struck a deal for not only one movie, but Spiderman will be appearing in 2 feature films in the MCU. Obviously, one will be his final movie in his first trilogy in the MCU, but another MCU movie that we do not know about yet. Jason, what was your reaction when you found out that Spider-Man is back in where he belongs?
Well, you were the first one with the news, actually, and you texted me, and I was just ecstatic, And I told a lot of the guys that I work with, and they were so happy too. I think it's a big relief. I'm very, very excited about it. I wasn't entirely shocked. Because kind of from the get-go, once the deal fell through, I was like, I think they're eventually going to get it back on track, because not only does Kevin Feige basically always get his way creatively, with the James Gunn situation, then James Gunn was back into the picture 2 or 3 months later, so things like this kind of get smoothed over a little bit easily, when it comes to Marvel and when it comes to what they want to do. And also the fact that I think it's just kind of mutually beneficial for Disney and Sony to work together like this. And I think it's going to really benefit both of them in the long run, and the deal that they struck really does benefit both of them because Spider-Man is going to be able to coexist between Sony's movies and Marvel's movies.
Yeah, well, Kevin Feige is quoted to say, I believe it is to the Hollywood Reporter. He said, "I am thrilled that Spidey's journey in the MCU will continue, and I and all of us at Marvel Studios are very excited that we get to keep working on it. Spider-Man is a powerful icon and a hero whose story crosses all ages and audience around the globe. He also happens to be the only hero with the superpower to cross cinematic universes. So as Sony continues to develop their own Spideyverse, you never know what surprises the future might hold." So it sounds like to me that Spider-Man is not only going to be in the MCU for these 2 movies, and then I believe they're going to be talking about another deal after that. Most likely they will.
Probably.
But it also sounds like Spider-Man will also be joining the Spidey universe or the Spidey cinematic universe over at Sony. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's kind of premature to call it a cinematic universe at this point because looking at their plans, it doesn't fill me with optimism, especially from the fact of Venom just in general.
Well, it reminds me a lot of when we looked at like a year ago. Actually, I think we looked at like the DC slate, and it was like all of these random movies that we all were like, "There's no way they're going to make all these
20
movies."
Movies
and like
that they had
Harley
planned.
Quinn was featuring in like 15 of them. Like
Harley Quinn was in like legitimately like 5 or 6.
Yeah, like
out of those 20.
It was ridiculous how many she was in. But I get the same feeling from this of like, all right, we're gonna throw this many ideas out here and then see how many movies people actually want to see.
So you see Sony throw out this giant kind of like net, this giant slate of like 20 movies that they're like, okay, we want to make this entire Spider-Man cinematic universe based off of C-list characters. And none of it's going to make any money, and it'll be awesome. And then you see DC a little while ago, they're throwing out their net of like 20 movies that they want to make, which makes a little bit more sense because it's not built around one character, but whatever. They make, it kind of was, exactly. It was kind of unnaturally weighted towards Harley Quinn and the Joker, which was weird. Because I guess that's what's cool and epic right now, so that's the movies that they want to make. But so DC's had like 20 movies that they lined up, and then Marvel comes in at Comic-Con, between Comic-Con and Disney Plus, and says, okay, well, here's like 10 or 12 projects that we're making. The difference between these is that that Marvel is actually going to make the projects that they say they're going to.
Right.
Most
of them, at least.
You hear DC, we're announcing a Blue Beetle movie, which is real. We're announcing a Joker and Harley Quinn love story movie. We're announcing a Green Lantern movie. And Sony's like, we're announcing Madam Web. We're announcing Silver Sable.
Morbius.
We're announcing Morbius, which Morbius, unfortunately, is probably going to get made. Since it's so recent, or since it's, coming up, I think next year.
Yeah.
But when Marvel announces stuff, it's going to actually happen. Yeah. Very rarely, Inhumans is probably the biggest example that got kind of like swept under the rug, turned into a terrible TV show.
Which I'm pretty sure we all were fine with.
Yeah, I mean, relatively with the things that were like surrounding it, it was probably like the least hype thing, at least in that moment. But, I have faith with the kind of the planning and the direction that they go in, and the fact that they've really fulfilled all of their promises before, that they're actually going to finish out this slate. So that's the biggest difference, between hearing from Sony, we're going to build this cinematic universe around Spider-Man. Well, maybe you are. That remains to be seen, because MCU started off with Iron Man, great movie, and you guys started off with Venom, literally just the opposite.
Well, it made great money. Venom made great money, but it didn't. It's not as... I'm not done. Don't crucify me, because I'm not comparing Venom to Iron Man at all.
Yeah.
But like box office wise, it made a big enough budget for them to be like, all right, let's make a second one. Like, people like this, let's make a second one. Which is very baffling to me. But I'm sorry, I was a part of that because I went to go see the movie once.
They're starting their cinematic universe with a crappy movie about the villain. And if you're basing your entire cinematic universe on the hero is coming up off of the backs of the MCU.
Right.
He was introduced in Civil War. He's already had 2 MCU-based movies that have no relation to Venom.
Yeah.
And he's been in 2 Avengers movies. The hero is coming off out of a different universe, and your universe is starting with Venom, and then Morbius, and then maybe Spider-Man showing up in Kraven the Hunter. But we don't know.
Right.
And then who knows what movies are actually going to be made beyond Venom 2 and Morbius. That's what I keep coming back to, is they can say we're going to make Madam Web or Kraven or Sinister Six all they want to. But
are they actually going to do it? Isn't that the question?
And the answer is no. So
we're not going to dive too much into this anymore, because we're going to be talking about it a lot on our podcast on Tuesday and our live stream afterwards. But we have a big announcement about that as well. So stay tuned to the end of the video for that. All I'm going to say about that is, if you're going to start a Spidey universe, I'd much rather you use Miles Morales than Venom. You could have started with Miles and it worked. Or Spider-Gwen, one of the two. But we'll talk about that Tuesday. Before we jump on, though, before we come to the end of this video, one thing I do want to note is, obviously, this is a two-part deal. The Spider-Man movie will be coming out in July 16, 2021. Big year for Marvel in 2021.
Huge.
I think that might be the most, obviously the most projects in a year, probably for the studio because of Disney Plus and all of that. Maybe.
I think 2017 actually has it beat between Inhumans. There was a season of Runaways that year,
Right.
and there was a bunch of Netflix shows that year, along with 3
That's
movies
right.
and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I'd have to look into that.
But I think 2019 or not 2019, 2021 at least is the most hyped year for Marvel at this point. I think so. Because you have Thor 4, you have the Loki show, the Hawkeye show. What If? You have Spider-Man 3, WandaVision, and Shang-Chi. So
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, so there's like 7-8 projects right there that are coming out in 2021. July 16th, that's like the middle of the summer. That's the big slot for Marvel movies as well. So this is really cool that this is getting that spot. Yeah, and Tom Holland, which we're going to end on this, took to Instagram to post his returning to the MCU, and it is a great line from Wolf of Wall Street. We're not going to play it here because I don't want to get copyright, but go check it out on his Instagram. Made me laugh. And Zendaya's post on Twitter made me laugh as well. It's great. So on to the big announcement, and that is that this is starting our second year of our podcast, The Dorks Next Door. But we haven't really done much since our 1-year anniversary to now with our podcast. We've kind of taken a little bit of a break. So what we've decided to do is that next week, this upcoming Tuesday, we are recording our Season 2 premiere episode where we are going to talk more in depth on DC's casting of Jonah Hill and Jeffrey Wright. We're going to talk a little bit more about Brie Larson in Star Wars, Kevin Feige producing a Star Wars movie. But the main thing we're going to be talking about is Spider-Man 3 and what we think is going to happen in that movie now that we know for sure he's back in, and what the other MCU movie feature film that he might appear in. So we're going to talk about all of that as well. So look forward to that on Tuesday. The recording, we are recording that on Tuesday. It's coming out on Friday, so look for that. But also Tuesday night we are recording, or we're going live to talk about this with the chat and to discuss a few other things as well. So make sure you join us for that as well. But we're also here to announce that more than just once a month, we are going to bring back and start working on some more of our gaming live streams. We finally figured out how to work. It took us about 4 live streams to figure it out, if not more.
Yes, and the solution was
don't use
using a PC.
Yeah, don't use a Mac. Macs are not good for gaming stuff. They're good for like working, but not for gaming stuff. But we're going to do more gaming content live streams. So we're talking Smash Bros. More, Marvel Ultimate Alliance a little bit, Mario Kart.
Mario Kart would be good.
Jackbox games, maybe even like Super Mario Maker 2, something like that, Cuphead, whatever you guys want to play. We have both a Nintendo Switch, a PS4, and a PS4. I think you have a PS4, don't you?
Nope, I got an Xbox One, though.
Yeah, Xbox One. So those 3 game systems. So if you have any ideas, let us know in the comments of what you want us to see what you want to see us play.
Halo 3.
Yeah, that's a good one, too.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more content coming out. The more breaking movie news that comes out, we will be recording it, whether it's style like this or, like the one we did Tuesday or Wednesday as well. So look forward to the stuff like that. Basically, all of this to say, we are coming up on our 1-year anniversary on being on YouTube being on YouTube for a year, and we want to do more content. We want to do more stuff, so we're looking forward to that. We want to get our hands dirty in the dork universe, in the nerd universe. We want to get all dirty in the nerd universe. So we're looking to do more content with stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that. So with all that being said, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our live streams or our videos. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Dorks Next Door. Take out the E from next. Follow me on Twitter at I'm Andy York. Follow Jason on Twitter at DNDJason.
If you dare.
And in our comments down below, answer our question of the day that we will talk about Tuesday on our live stream. Now that we know that Spider-Man is going to be back in the MCU for his 3rd movie, what do you want to see from that movie? Answer down below in the comments. Like I said, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and we will see you guys in the next video.